how, for instance, the Obama campaign is focusing on Arizona, but you discussed how people aren't really recognizing this new majority that's out there, recognizing that they know the demographics are coming, but aren't really recognized. So can you talk about how what you're doing would be different from what like the Obama campaign is actually doing right now?
Right.
They are looking to mobilize Latinos in Arizona. Or
Yes.
maybe not enough.
Right, so I think there's a level of, we're looking at trying to have strategic value add. And so we do, and this is part of the work that we did in 2008, right? And that there is when we did the independent expenditure effort. So this book, it's in your packets, kind of outlines the work that we did in 2008, a historic year. So we did a targeted, both geographically and demographically targeted effort, as well as having efforts that were very consciously, culturally competent and resonant in terms of the character of the work that we did, right? So we were the first entity that had ads on the air in South Carolina in 2008. And we ran radio ads, and those the first ads were two women at a beauty salon, right? Two African American women in a beauty salon talking about the election, right? So we think that trying to really utilize the cultural, cues and metaphors. When we did work in Obama in 2008 in New Mexico, some of the ads that Marina Chambers had done for us, we ran television ads to introduce Obama to the Latino community. And the ads were, he's just like us, and really talking about the common values and biographical points that he had. So I think that that's a similar approach that we would take in a place like Arizona, is being able to be targeted and much more culturally resonant in the character of what we actually do. And then I think the other piece that is important to all of this work is to be able to train and develop a longer-term cohort of organizers, activists, political operatives who can be present and engaged in those areas for the long term.
I'd just add that I hope that the work we do will in many ways be a model for what campaigns overall are doing, particularly around how they address issues of race, right? So the work we do and will be doing as part of PAC Plus is very much informed by hard data, right? So when you look at, for example, Latino voters, most Latino voters, the vast majority speak English, right? And they're going to be hearing ads on English radio. A large chunk of that population will also access at least some Spanish media. So they're going to be hearing those messages, right? So one thing is people can pick up very easily and very quickly whether you're telling them the same thing when you're talking to them in Spanish as opposed to in English in different, through different settings, right? I think we saw that happen in California with the whole, mistreatment of the maid issue in the recent race. The other thing is that it's not enough to just, and we integrate this very much into everything we do, but it's not enough to just speak in a different language to people who may be, those voters who may be Spanish dominant. It's actually about transmitting a very different message, right, that is going to in fact resonate with those folks. So I think one thing I'd like to see all the campaigns doing much more of is creating outreach and messaging work that actually might be in English, but is very much designed from its beginning, right, to really reach those populations, as opposed to just sort of the generic messages that are usually used.
It seems like you've laid out a very big mandate here. It sounds like each state you have a different goal. For example, Arizona, you talk a lot about getting out the vote. And so it seems like you're focusing on congressional races, presidential, and getting out the vote. That's a huge task. How are you gonna, do you see this narrowing down? Or, there's organizations that are solely focused on minority votes, and then others that are solely focused on congressional elections.
I think it's really important to understand that, of course, the presidential is going to be talking to voters, right? They're going to have their strategy, and it's independent. because of the rules, they're going to do their thing, and this is, I think it's really important to understand that this is two things. It's not just the GOTV, it is actually trying to connect people, especially raising money. There was that PAC plus, right? Towards a vision that is about really making the new American majority a vision of progressive values, social justice across groups, as opposed to the kind of campaign operations that are totally targeted on one constituency, which is valuable, having done it myself. But I think that this is a longer-term vision. That's the most significant problem I've observed over the last, decades, is that most politics, most elections, they're not for the long term. They're not building infrastructure. They're spending a chunk of money and then there's nothing left. And I say that as a member of the DNC, right? And, I'm a party. We don't build. And this is about trying to build something for the long term across constituencies.
And it gets also to the point that we are going to focus, right? So part of we're doing an overlay around seeing where the areas of opportunity are. And also really looking at a lot of what the different C4 partners are, what a lot of the different efforts are. So we'll look at an area and see where are the gaps, and then try to focus in our particular areas in that regard. So whether it's, so if we feel that the Latino civic engagement piece is totally taking place, let me know where that is, then we'll focus someplace else. In terms of maybe a particular candidate that we think needs some help to get over the edge. So that's, we're going to try to look at the whole landscape.
And to that end, are you going to be working with the other Democratic super PACs out there, like American Bridge, which organizes weekly meetings with priorities, and have you had conversations with them yet?
We haven't had specific conversations with them per se. We have had a number of conversations with the labor unions around the coordinating our efforts and what their efforts are going to be. And so we created this to be, we think it's an important value add to the overall progressive political landscape and in unaddressed areas. We want to be in communication and coordination with the rest of the social justice and progressive family. And to that end, I want to actually give John Podesta a chance to share with us. We're honored that John agreed to spend some time with us this morning. John has been a longtime leader in the Democratic Party, as chief of staff to President Clinton, the founder of Center for American Progress, and been involved in Democratic politics for a long time.